Hello and welcome back. This is Tuxedo Ian, and we are getting back into our playthrough of Book of Hours. This will be part number 10, and we have just finished up summer and are moving into autumn, and it's a rainy day, so let's see what we can put that rain to good use. All right, so we have some rain, which gives us 2 nectar and 2 grail. And we also have somebody new for hire here at the Sweet Bones. We have, oh, actually, the day has not quite ticked over to the next season yet, so we could hire a barber if we wanted to, but we don't have any use for a barber. There we go. So now it is autumn. And the Sweet Bones offers us orchard keepers. In autumn, the orchard keepers come to sell their wares at Brancrook. A shilling will buy one's help. So what we can do, that will be very helpful to us, so we will hire one of them. We finished cataloging this book, Observations on the Peacock Door. Nine Gala of Lagash discusses the Peacock Door, the highest door available to mortals in the Mansus. A rent, an imperfection, an abrasion. This is 10 Moon, but it's also written in Vac, a bold language that we cannot yet read. And it will give us the skill Sickle and Eclipse once we master it. Salt and Silver, Balance, Necessity, and Rebuke. And the other one we have cataloged is A Journey to the Grove. Black Ellie, who much later became Damascene matriarch of the Sisterhood of the Knot, recounts her journey to the Grove of Green Immortals. 10 Grail, and it would teach us about orchids and narcotics. There is no greed without beauty. So for now, we can stash these onto our to-read shelf. And we have some things happening here. We have an advertisement from Cater and Hero. The firm Cater and Hero, alive to the possibility of commerce, has sent a smudgily printed catalog addressed to the Librarian. We have acquired an order form for Cater and Hero. Cater and Hero has offices almost everywhere, not in this misty limb of the kingdom, but they will at least deliver here. Use ink to order items of interest. A few lines on an order form won't consume the ink. When your delivery arrives, it'll contain a new order form. This was mainly the reason that I was holding off on using the Hound's Gall, because since it's right here on the desk, we'll be able to use it to write an order form and order some foodstuffs later. That's mainly stuff that we'll need to get salons going, but we'll use that in a little while. What's happening in the world beyond Brankrug? What visitors will the season bring? Our affair of the forgivable debt is drawing a new visitor, so we will see who comes to visit us now. Our memory storm is just about finished, so we've carried the memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of the night. So the first thing we can do is we will speak to our orchard keeper, and talk to her about the weather, which will boost her up to Nectar 4. And we actually can get into the pantry with her today, so we will probably go ahead and do that. We could open up the walled garden, but there's not a whole lot there we need just yet. But the pantry, on the other hand, will give us quite a variety of things, and we can get her to 7 easily enough. We have our health, and we have this bronze knife. That'll get her up to 7. And we have also finished unlocking the Grand Ascent, 3rd floor. By long tradition, each Brankrug had their image set in a niche on the Grand Ascent. Later, the Curie of the Isle continued the tradition for their librarians. So we have spaces for the 9th Librarian, who saw his fate and did not shirk it. Curie of the Isle for the 10th Librarian, who departed but did not forget. The 11th Librarian, who returned to complete what he began. The 12th Librarian. This, of course, would be me. I can use whatever I want as my image. And the 13th Librarian. If I have a successor, their image might stand here. Well, those we can put anything in, but so we're not going to worry about those for now. However, the 10th, who departed but did not forget. Well, we know who has not forgotten, and that was Serena Blackwood, because remember, she told us she used to be a librarian here when she sent us that case. So we can put Serena's image there in the 10th librarian slot. And we do have this bust of Walter DeWolf, which we can examine later and find out where he goes, but that's not a very pressing issue. We also have Musgrave DeWolf. So we still have spaces for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th Baroness Brandkrug. We know who the Baroness was. That was Eva. We've read that from our books, but we haven't found her bust just yet. I'm sure we'll come across it sooner or later. But let's see, what else do we have with our soul pieces here? Well, let's get our orchard keeper working and clearing out the pantry, because we're still waiting for our other visitor to arrive. Give her the knife, which will get her up to 6. Is there someone en route to Hush House? A visitor interested in reckoners. Lala Chima. Huntress. Gourmet. Occasional bureau consultant. When it can't be killed, and it really needs killing, Chima's the one they turn to. She's interested in Rose and Edge. She prefers Edge, food and drink, if we invite her to a salon. She can speak Greek, she can speak Aramaic, and she also knows Crack-Track, the primal language, well enough to read or teach it. This is one that we are going to want to learn from her, although not right now. We're going to need to help her first, and then we can call her back later to get a language lesson from her. Because if we get the language lesson from her now, we wouldn't be able to get her card and call her back later. So as soon as we're done with the orchard keeper, we'll just have to give our health. I'm ready to lend my limbs. Boosts heart scale and nectar. This will get her up to nectar 7, so we can open up the pantry. And then we'll be able to talk to Lala. We'll work alongside each other. So we'll go ahead and drop her into the pantry here. Smashed glass and shattered timber. This room can be restored, and there'll be salvageable provisions tucked away in the wreckage, but I'll need someone with strong arms and a patient heart. So we'll get that started, and now we can speak to Lala Shima. There are things I need to know. On the forgivable debt. Reckoners. They are not stupid, but enough of them are very stupid. Try a book with as much mystery edge as their edge interest. Well, she has an interest in edge of 3. So we have, luckily enough, we have our Victory of Crowns book here. One of the Reckoner Lords, now in Kaunas, fancies himself an adept. So of course he has botched a conjuring. And of course now the conjuring has made its nest in the sewers. Always these things take to the sewers. Always. I have what I need, except that I will also need a bath. Thank you. Poor Lala, having to go down into the sewers. Although it makes sense, monsters always do seem to end up in the sewers one way or another. So let's see. While that's working, we can see. So let's see. We do have our core, which gives us 2 heart, and our memory storm, which gives us another 2 heart. That would get us enough to open up the neglected room here. So we'll go ahead and get Mrs. Kill's help. Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. And while that's working, we can go ahead and restore our other core that we use to catalog a book. It is autumn when the leaves rustle. The silent landlady has served me apple pie with steamed cream in the window nook. As soon as Lala is finished reading her book, she will be on her way, and we can get Mrs. Kill and start working on getting her ready to open up the first room of that tower. We've gotten Mrs. Shima's card and another bronze spintria. And we'll check and see what she has to say, what our card has to say here. Lala Shima set off, without enthusiasm, to complete a commission for a reckoner lord in the sewers of Kaunas. So we can start talking to Mrs. Kill. We can give her Memory Storm, which will bring her up to Heart 3. And by the time that's finished, our core will have rested. Better now. Let's see, what else do we want to do with any of these other things here? I think, see, six sky, we can't quite get there yet, but we could read Victory of Crowns, we could read Exorcism for Girls, we could read The High Traditions of the Noble Endeavor, could read De Bellis Mororum. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start with Victory of Crowns just to give us another edge skill. We can come over here because at the Eva desk we can use edge. So that gives us 4 edge that we can use to match this 4 mystery. I can master this mystery. Edge, a conquest. And as we can see, without the proper amount of edge, it says a contention, but once we have enough, it is a conquest. And we will start reading that. So let's see, can we read anything with our Faust, our Shapt, our Tryst, or our Whist? 10 Moth, 6. Not quite. We would need some help with all of those. Can't get that with our core. Yeah, we would need more heart, I believe. So we have 2 there. Magapine Mysteries only gives us 1. So yeah, we're kind of stuck on heart for now. So what we will do instead is we will use, well, we need that to talk to Mrs. Kill with, but we can use our Tryst, and we can catalog another one of these Solar Period books from the Solar Gothic period, roughly between the 1000s and 1500s. Books from this period are occasionally contaminated. And we'll catalog another one using our Shapt. Let's see here. What else was I going to do today? Oh, that's right. We can go ahead. We can use our Faust to open one of these packages. We have something shipwrecked. Something especially tasty. Or something shipwrecked. I think we'll open up the tasty one first and see what it has to say. Crack open the container. Delight in your discovery. So that'll take us a minute, although it'll be a little bit less than that since we're doing double speed right now. Now we also could have read the Horus Book 2, which I think we'll probably do. We can rest our metal and read that. We can talk to Mrs. Kill with our core. Everything goes easier with a song, boosts heart and grail. So that will give her the 5 heart that we need to break into this neglected room up here. If we had some way to get 1 more heart, we could have her open up the Reeking Chamber, or the web-snared room, but for now I think it's probably best that we go into the neglected room. And our orchard keeper has finished opening up the pantry, and as you can see, there is a wealth of food options in here. The pantry. This room is close to the roots of the house, and so it had a troubled reputation with the servantry, who late at night might hear the pulse of an unseen drum, the buzzing of flies, voices crying out in tongues unknown, and so the servants would trade favors not to be the one to fetch spices for his lordship's posset after dark. We've got some rose pearl, another bottle of dandelion wine, some phosphorescent scrapings, some canned ham. The taste will remain reliably unchanged for many years to come, which, in some respects, is an advantage. A jar of pickled pilchards, an acquired and unforgettable taste. Some lapsang souchong packet. Some blackberry jam. A pumpkin. Mash it, eat it, hide forbidden documents in it. A soft amber pumpkin, a lovely golden gourd grown beside the soft sea. Some scrumpy, the West Country's most unregenerate achievement, perhaps at its best when pressed from stolen apples. A tall parcel and some contraband jetsam, some more packages we can open later. Some beeswax. It begins as a flower. Beeswax can be used to make candles if you have a skill with the chandlery aspect, which I don't believe we have right now, but we'll find one later. We've also found another bottle of Schloss Jannings and another bottle of Domaine Raveline. A packet of Dawn Lion coffee from beyond the Great Deserts. An elderflower cordial, wrung from sweet white flowers. Some rosehip jam, plucked from wild roses. Blackberry jam. Some flour, pulverized grains, bread's precursor. Mix with butter or milk for dough, mix with water for batter. A packet of drinking cocoa. A bottle of Eigengrau, and this is the thing that we could craft with one of our skills earlier, if Grey Dawn oil were drinkable. Another thing of cuckoo honey. Some Evening Isles coffee that we can brew later. Some Gideon's Soaks, a therapeutic collection of beneficial bottles. Another nicely medium-tier thing with 2 Forge, 4 Heart, 3 Nectar, and 2 Winter. So very versatile if we need an item for reading a book or for crafting later. So another packet of Dawn Lion coffee. Some C&H Second Flush Assam that we can use. Tea from the land of the real unicorn, imported by Cater and Hero. Another jar of pickled mushrooms. A bottle of sloe gin, homemade berry gin. This is a drink that has grail and nectar aspect to it, so we can use that to boost people's nectar up. Some pickled pilchards, again, we have some more of these, so we have heart, moon, scale, and edge. Cinnabar, a bright scarlet powder with a silvery brilliance locked within. A forge material, maybe we'll find some use for that later. A pale marrow. In Brankrug, they take marrows seriously. This is a marrow redolent of sorrow. Golden marrow. In Brankrug, they take marrows seriously. This is accounted a beauty among its kind. An essential periost. What happens when you boil and scrape us down to our utter fundamentals? It's a thing with 4 winter, 4 scale, 4 nectar, and 2 moon. It's also remains and a thing, so maybe we can find a use for that later. Some mackerel. Eat it while it's fresh, or keep it while it's salted. 2 moon, scale, and a little bit of heart. It's also raw. This might be edible, but you wouldn't serve it on a plate to a guest. A box of oddities, a tiny treasury of forgotten things. Perhaps there's a real oddity in here somewhere. So we have to use this with Consider to open it up and see what's inside it. And we have a basket of vegetables, gifts from the garden. Heart and nectar, and again it's raw, but it is sustenance and it is a cooking ingredient we can use. The 2 new rooms that have opened are the Deserted Well. This well is choked and filthy. It'll need to be purified inside and out. We'll need some with 7 moon or 7 nectar for that. And we also have a Maze Crazed room. Wires are strung tightly and crazily through this room, snaring the bed legs to the window latches to the wardrobe handles. Every movement brings a ripple of musical pings. It'll need time and patience to unravel. One wonders who would do such a thing. But also, we have an ability here now. So we will go back and grab our writing case. And we can put Chima's card with the writing case to note down her address. And she lives at Rue de Jardin, Hydra, Algiers. She has interest in edge and rose books and affairs, and she prefers edge, food, and drink. To make a note to invitation to Chima sufficiently enticing, you'll need at least 3 edge. Well, our auroral contemplation should cover that because it's at level 3, so we'll be able to invite her back so she can teach us how to read Crack Track. So we can go ahead and start that. But will they come when you do call for them? An occult, and this gives us another occult scrap with 2 knock, 2 moth, and 2 rose. So once we have a little more power to make ink, we can write her back and we can get her to come and teach us how to do Crack Track. And we can call Arthur and have him teach us Sabazine. Okay, let's see. Oh, right. So we'll go back to the Sweet Bones because Mrs. Kill is just about done with that. So we will hire another orchard keeper. And then we will rest our health to get another point, to get that extra point of nectar. And we can use this dandelion wine. So the dandelion wine plus the knife plus the 2 from the orchard keeper plus our health will give us another 7 that we can use to open up this well. We've cataloged the White Book of Brittany, a volume of death lore gifted to St. Brandon's by Brian of Brittany, who was made Earl of Cornwall after the Norman Conquest. 10 winter, we're a ways from that. It's not too far, but we can still a ways away. And it's the subject of Ragged Crossroads, to understand why 4 paths were not taken. So we can stick that onto our shelf. And the other book we found is the Black Book of Brittany, a volume of ink lore gifted to St. Brandon's by Brian of Brittany, who was made Earl of Cornwall after the Norman Conquest. Well, since we seem to have a White Book of Brittany and a Black Book of Brittany, we'll stick those side by side here. This one is 12 Moon and would teach us more about inks of containment, which we'll probably want, so we'll keep that in mind. Alright, let us see here. So we still have our whist. We could get Mr. Kill's help, but I don't think we're going to have enough time to make use of him. We will finish talking to Mrs. Kill here. My assistant and I are both a little merrier. We will get her started working on the neglected room. The room above might once have been some sort of lounge, but the furniture and equipment have been smashed and overturned. The walls are streaked with mildew. An unlovely smell wafts from farther up. We'll get her working on that. And then we will begin talking to the orchard keeper. We will give her the knife. And we may or may not have time to give her the health. If we don't, we can use her. So we found a bottle of Rose Cragen whiskey, the favorite tipple of Sir David Green, 8th Librarian of Hush House. So we can come and we can put that down here in the servants' quarters. Oop. Just pop it onto the table here for now. As I was saying, if we don't have enough time to get her all the way to 7, we can still use her to unlock one of these gardens over here. don't think we're going to have quite enough time to do that. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hold on to our dandelion wine. That needs 3. We can only unlock 1 room at a time. Yeah, we're not going to have time to get her to 7, because by the time she finishes drinking, it would be after nightfall. So what we will do instead, we will just use our health to do some manual labor and get some more money back, because we're going to need it tomorrow. Yep, there goes night. And we've opened up that room, so now we can put the orchard keeper to work opening up this walled garden. Iron spikes march along the top of the wall. The gate is rusted shut, but what I can see through the bars is as ruinous as I might expect. I also forgot we have 2 more rooms over here that were unveiled when we opened up the top of the stairs. We have a shadowed atrium. This has long been a holy place, but in the absence of prayers, other influences have crept in. I'll need help to purify it step by step. I need either 5 knock or 5 lantern. And we have a despoiled laboratory. This was an alchemist's workshop and a picture gallery, but the pictures have been flung down, the vessels overturned, the solvents and reagents spilt. It will be time-consuming and dangerous to repair. Well, we need 6 winter or 6 forge, so that's a job for either Denzel or Mr. Kill. So we'll probably put Mr. Kill on that, because we can probably get him to 6 winter easy enough with a little bit of talking. Alright, let's see, where was I? Excuse me. Oh, and the other new room that we've opened, we have found the Patience Lounge. In this room, the accursed of the Great War gathered to recuperate, those who had suffered something no more horrible, but somewhat more mysterious than the war's usual wounds to body and spirit, an eruption of worms, perhaps, or the risks at the military end of the Suppression Bureau activities. Among them were minor luminaries of the invisible world, Christopher Illopoli, Zachary Wakefield, Harvey Harrington. But not Brian Levinson, who had been 9th Librarian, and under whose tenure the infirmary had flourished. He enlisted. He served for a time as a medical officer on the Western Front. His body was never found. Poor Brian. Well, at least now we know when we find a bust for Brian Levinson, we know that he was the 9th Librarian. And in here we found a pot and a cup of C&H Second Flush Assam. We found a lacquered bone chess set, Born of Battles, 2 Edge and 1 Winter. Another cup of Second Flush Assam. And 1 uncatalogued book, which we'll go ahead and stick that in our inventory for now. Which, actually, we can go ahead and use our whist to catalog that, because we have just enough time left in the day. And we have also found a projector. General Collier's had this installed in the 20s as a treat for prisoners allowed to recover in the infirmary. Or so he said. Rumor has it he was a secret Keaton fan and didn't want to motor all the way up to Exeter to see the latest feature. This would let us watch movies, a film canister, a reel of film, and you thought books were flammable, readable only in the broadest sense. Find a projector to play this. So this can watch movies that have either Lantern, Forge, Grail, or Sky aspect, but right now we don't have any films, so I'm sure we'll come across one or another sooner or later. And the new tower that has opened, the Motley Tower, 1st floor. The door jams half open, but the room above is a bright oasis after the dreary neglect of the lower tower. The previous occupant has probably left some sort of protection in place. I'll find somebody suitably qualified to deal with them. We need either 5 heart or 5 moth. Well, that's going to be a job for Mrs. Kill, because she can get to 5 heart fairly easily enough. So we will go ahead and let our timer run down on the sweet bones here. And we have managed to finish reading The Victory of Crowns, erratic accounts by Aaron of the hunting and consumption of supposed immortals by shadowy assassins, published in the late 19th century. The assassins are, according to Aaron, the agents of a power called the Colonel, a soldier of the secret masters. The accounts date back to Roman times. Aaron's scholarship is dubious, but she, writes pithily. Incidents of sudden and violent death are interspersed with aphorisms. Hours don't dream. Long try not to. This has given us a lesson on sharps and a memory of contradiction, which gives us edge and moon. So what we can do, we'll go ahead and collect that. We can stick the book back in here and add the memory contradiction to mark the book and remind us that that's what it gives us. We can then come back over here to our storage area and put this into our red books pile, which fills up this bottom shelf. And then as soon as this book has been cataloged, we can go ahead and start learning how to understand sharps. We found another phonograph record. Recordings from the Altheban Abyss. Recordings from a subterranean space in the mountains near Baghdad of conversations between the entomologist Juliana Zawatowski and an unidentified presence. It has 4 scale, but it is in Deep Mandaic, a language that we do not yet know. It's a phonograph record. A labyrinth of eager grooves awaits the stylus. Readable only in the broadest sense. Find a phonograph to play it. And it would teach us about stone stories, of the earth, of its forms, of dwellers living and dead. So we can pop that up onto our shelf over here of books that we are phonograph records. And we'll move this over here to our to read pile. So let's see, anything else we want to do? We're out of soul fragments. We'll go ahead and let the day tick over. Just in time we finish at the Sweet Bones to get our 6p. And we'll go ahead and start some more manual labor because we're going to need some more money. We're only down to 6p and a penny. And we will use our other core to get Mrs. Kill out. Ooh, and that helps us. A gale. Trees bend, walls creak, travelers bend low against the blast. 3 heart and 3 sky. Well, that means we're going to be having a much easier time getting her to 5 then. You always cheer me up, she says. So she starts with 1 heart, and we can give her the gale, which will boost her to 4. While we're talking with her about the weather, we can also be studying on sharps and gain a new skill. Let's see, do we want to do anything with any of these for now? Let's see. Well, we're going to get her to 5 hearts so she can open up this first floor of the Motley Tower. Sharps, knives, dangers, and things out of place. 2 edge and 1 moon. As I said earlier, moon is present on quite a lot of these skills. It can be assigned to hushery or to scolacoscopy. Getting a pretty good stable of skills here. I think we've got most of the aspects covered at this point in one way or another. Let's take advantage of the weather while it lasts. Now, one thing we can do, we don't really have anything else for heart right now. We could use our health, but we want to use that later. What we can do is we can offer her these mixing bowls, and that'll bring her up to 5 heart. And while she's doing that, let's see, who else can we use here? As soon as we have our extra 6p here from doing some manual labor, we can call out either Reverend Timothy, or we can call out Denzel, or we can hire another orchard keeper. So let's see, we can either use the orchard keeper to open the well, we can use Denzel to open the foundry, We can also use Denzel to open the laboratory. We could use the Reverend to open up the Shadowed Atrium. We could also use Denzel to open up the Gloomy Room. Or we could use Mrs. Kill later to open... Well, we use Mrs. Kill to open up this weed-choked garden because 3 nectar is fairly easy to come by. And then this... So let's see. What do I want to do? What do we want to do here? I think the play at this point is, since the Orchard Keepers are not going to be around for beyond the autumn, we will go ahead and get her attention, and that'll save us a piece of soul as well. And then we will use our metal to start working at the Sweet Bones. Alright, so our midwife, so Mrs. Kill, has reached 5 heart. We can use her to start unlocking the Motley Tower. The door jams half open, but the room above is a bright oasis after the dreary neglect of the lower tower. Previous occupant probably left some sort of protections in place. I'll find somebody suitably qualified to deal with them. We'll begin that, and then talking to the Orchard Keeper. We'll give her a nice drop. I can offer my assistant something to drink to increase her aspects. Bring her up to 4 nectar. Down to the Grushians. This has boosted their aspects appropriately. We can then offer her the knife, which will bring her up to 6. Excuse me. Dealing with a little bit of a cold over here still. This weather just keeps bouncing back and forth, and it makes my sinuses go all over the place. We'll collect our money for that, and we will use our Faust to do some more work. Alright, so our Orchard Keeper is at 6. We need 7, so we could use our health, or let's see what else we have up here that we might be able to use. We need some food, so we could give her any of these foods that are blinking here. We could give her a basket of vegetables. Yep, offer her something to eat. We can offer her something to eat. We'll increase her aspect, so that'll bring her up to Nectar 7. And that allows us to save our health. We can't harvest anything there in that garden, but we could come over here. We could harvest some Honeyscar Jasmine. Or we could harvest some more fragrant chalice here. Unfortunately, summer has passed, so we're not able to get any Agave Eterna. We could also come over here and use... So I think that's the play here. We'll use our health. The Gardens of Hush House hold plants with many virtues for those with the wisdom to recognize them at a suitable skill. So we have to use either a Coil and Chasm or our Rites of the Roots. So we'll use our Coil and Chasm to gather some sea-blessed pears. Fragrant pears, soft in the hand. And for our other soul fragments we'll use here, we will catalog another solar book from the 1000s to 1500s. And we will use our FET to catalog another solar book. And we will use our Shapt and Whist to work at the Sweet Bones and get another shilling total. And that should finish out the day. The Sustenance has boosted their aspects appropriately. Alright, so we can now put her to work and open up the deserted well. The well is choked and filthy. It'll need to be purified, inside and out. Well, who better for that than an Orchard Keeper, after all? We found a book, The Three and the Three, the Vatican Manuscript, a church-authorized version of an older text. This book describes the chancel and the calyptra, Two triads of ours with subtle, far-reaching powers and responsibilities. It has clearly been reworked to fit church doctrine. Moon 14. Gonna be a while before we get to that, and it'll teach us about edicts inviolable, the precepts of occlusion and dissolution. Their jealous enforcement is the nature of the Calyptra. And our other book was The Sun's Lament. The first volume of the Meditations of Abbot Thomas of the Abbey of the Black Dove. 4-edge, and it will teach us about Ragged Crossroads. Well, that's something we'll probably be able to read tomorrow. We should have no problem with that with Auroral Contemplations and our medal. So we'll hold on to that in our inventory for now. And our Shapt and Whist are going to be spoken for, so we'll go ahead and speed up time a little bit so we can do that. Use our Shapt to help fix and mend some stuff. And we've harvested a bowl of sea-blessed pears, smooth as butter and wonderfully juicy. Grail, Moon, and Nectar. And we can harvest a few of those as the fall goes on. But for now, we'll just stick them, let's see, move this bird statue a little bit here. And stick them up on the shelf over here. We've opened up our well. There's been a well here since the days of the Sisterhood, and superstitions have gathered around it like leaves in drifts. Its water has a healing virtue if drawn on a night of the new moon. It's ill luck to draw from it if you hear an owl. If you drip the blood of a living enemy into the well, they'll drown, and so on. Certainly when Numa comes, the mists lie thick here. It's an open-air area. The birds and the seasons can both freely visit this place. So nothing much there other than the Hush House well. I can draw up water or drop something in, most likely to be lost forever. This opens up another room for us, 2 more rooms for us. The overgrown kitchen garden. This place has surrendered to wind and weed. Bees buzz menacingly. Somewhere, something clucks plaintively. So we need either 9 Grail or 9 Nectar. So we can probably work on getting our Orchard Keeper up to that tomorrow, because I think, let's see. Yes, so these pickled mushrooms have 2 Nectar to them. So 2 from that, 2 from the Orchard Keeper, 2 from the knife, that's 6. 2 from a drink, that brings her to 8. And 1 from our health brings her to 9, so we will be able to open up the garden tomorrow. And we also have a creeper-crowded descent. Leaves, flowers, and thorns. Especially thorns. 9. We would need 8 Moon, 8 Nectar, or 8 Scale to clear the way there, but I think getting into the garden is probably going to be more, because I'm interested in finding out what that clucking noise is coming from. We have done our fixing and mending, and we will then throw our whist in there and help out with some letters again, and that will bring the day almost to a close. So we've managed to get back up to 2 shillings, or a florin. And we've managed to get an occult scrap. We read a new book, got a new skill. And we got some pears, and we opened up the well. So I think that's probably a good point to call it a profitable day. Just wait for the next day to dawn here and see what new weather we'll have to deal with for the morning. And we'll get some more rain, so that actually makes it even easier to get our Orchard Keeper up to 9. So good thing we spent that time working. And with that, I think I'm going to call it a day. So thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like or give me a comment. Feel free to subscribe if you enjoy what I'm doing here. And I will see you all next time.